There are incidents happening which is carving the flow of funds. There are, of course, we all know incidents happening which is related to the sanction tariff regulations. And today it seems like the old order of the world politics is no more holding. And the corporates are really struggling to confront, combat the everyday changes which is coming up, sometimes by the various announcements, sometimes by the mood on that particular day of the various leaders of the world. So every day they are going back to the drawing board and thinking where to procure their materials from, which path to use to bring the materials to them, where to export, where to open up their offices, where to send their skills and laborers to. In fact, my own research and think tank and consulting firm Intueri has been going around and talking to the multiple KMPs, CXOs, multiple board members, asking them what's keeping them awake at night, apart from the issues like growth, profit and all. But the one question that is coming up from everyone is that can you really demystify the geopolitical situation to us and address the blind spots of integrability of these geopolitical changes to my day-to-day operations. And that's what we are all working on. We have also produced frameworks and methodologies like the corporate foreign policy, the comprehensive external risk analysis, and we are continuously trying to help the corporates in bringing some kinds of discipline and predictability to this. Therefore, when ABP approached me, I felt that they are really way ahead of the curve because this is something which is yet not much discussed in India, at least in events, whereas the corporates possibly one-to-one basis with their consultants are discussing, and I really felt that it would be good to have a discussion with two of my friends, colleagues, mentors. One is Mr. Juan Pujadas, and he has been at the highest level of one of the biggest consulting firms in the world. He has also been sitting on multiple boards and handled various risk management committees, and in that he has also worked with many leading geopolitical research organizations. And also we will have Sean West. He is also very much into the applicability of AI in combating this geopolitical situation. He has written a book called Unruly. He has started his own firm, Hence.ai, and he also has been a deputy CEO in Russia, the leading research body worldwide. Now, I really thank Juan that even though this is their Thanksgiving weekend, so Juan's still up awake at night at 11:15, 11:30 p.m. now. And I will first therefore start with Juan, my chat with Juan. And Juan, in case you feel that you would like to sleep, after your conversation with me is over, you can switch off. Then I will continue to have the recorded portion of the Sean West because Sean could not travel. Sean could not be online also because of having some personal commitments over the weekend. But so he was kind enough to have his observations recorded. With this, I will start now with Juan. Juan, question to you to start with is that you have been in your 3-4 decades of consulting, risk management, advisory experience globally, all over the world. Have you ever seen the geopolitics, which is now becoming so important, World Economic Forum putting it in the highest order, they're saying a chief geopolitical officer to be engaged by the organization. Have you seen geopolitics really playing such an important role in the past? Or it's much more important now than compared to the past?
Well, thank you, Ambarish, and happy Saturday to you guys. And I'm sorry that I can't be there in person, but appreciate you bringing me in via this virtual presence. The question's a very interesting one. I think geopolitics has always been important. I think over the years, domestic politics has always, trumped the international side of politics. But geopolitics are always important because countries have always, had markets abroad from their domestic markets. They've always sold things. They've located employees. They've imported goods. The supply chain has been increasingly very global. But what I think is really very important now is that the companies have the tools and the abilities to be aware of what's happening, in all of the markets in which they participate and they serve. And there's no excuse, and I'm sorry if that's such a hard word, but there's no excuse for them not to be, equipped with frameworks to understand the exposures that they have to those geopolitical situations and be able to be flexible to adapt to those situations. So I think it is imperative that they prepare and construct the way of analyzing, taking those inputs and making decisions, informed decisions about what they do in the context of the geopolitical situation. So I think the answer in short order is there's always been risk to geopolitics. The question is, are you prepared to understand it, to analyze it, and to protect or hedge or prepare yourself to deal with that? And I think you'll hear from Sean, when we collaborated on his book, that it's not that geopolitics don't affect things, it's just that there's no excuse for not being prepared for it, right?
Thanks, Juan. We are also seeing now at World Economic Forum, the 2025, the Global Risk Barometer report and the other reports they published, they are also showing, and our own recent research also indicates that the geopolitical risk trade index has surged 30%, the global supply chain pressure index because of such wars, state-based armed conflict, non-state-armed conflict also sometimes has created the global supply chain pressure index tripled. The question that comes in the mind of the board members, which we move around, is that the predictability. Everyone is understanding that the market intelligence has to be increased. You actually have to be a little aware of what's going to happen. But then how can you really bring a predictability into these kind of situations which we do not even know the day before that what will happen today or tomorrow?
That is a fascinating question, and I'm going to take you back, Ambarish, you and I have discussed this, to the basics of the role of the board and of executive management, which is governance, right? It's not to be right or wrong, but it's to bring the right frameworks and analysis of the situation that they confront, that they see in their markets. And therefore, I think that the comment I would make here, the thing I would offer to the participants in the audience is that it's very easy to be affected, to be distracted by what I call the crosswinds of the politics of the world, the politics of the domestic market, with an analysis of the scenarios of the possibilities that are out there. So we witnessed, here in the U.S. just a few years ago, the reactions to COVID, and many companies went into a complete meltdown in how they approached, a situation that actually now, in hindsight, and it's unfortunate, many people suffered and died, but if you look at the commercial impact, we have an ability in many parts of the world of having integrated digitally supply chains, communication, advertising, flow of information, travel, boarding passes, visas, e-visas, etc. Things that were not possible a mere 4 or 5 years ago were precipitated by the reaction to literally a global crisis that could have just devolved into a very isolationist, geopolitical situation. But I think that the companies, and their boards reacted to that, and I think that's really the role of, the board, to be prepared to say, even when we didn't see this coming, we adapted to the response, the strategy to the post-event, and then we created an opportunity to be meaningful and survive that in an impactful way. And I think that happens all companies. So it's not so much about being right, but it's about being thoughtful and about understanding the scenarios and the potential responses to those scenarios. And I think that is the main tool that senior management and a board have, is equip themselves with the information and then the potential outcomes, responses and then outcomes to those scenarios to be resilient in response. Otherwise, you're like the ostrich, right? I don't know if the ostrich is popular in India, but in other parts of the world, it's a symbol of you put your head in the sand and pretend nothing is happening, right? And that's not a good strategic response. So I think that's the main message I would like to leave, is that there really is a way forward, which is the board has to be focused on the different scenarios and the responses, and not just simply be distracted